Well, good evening, and trust everyone's doing well. And just going to jump on and wrap up this first module of presence-centered leadership. If you've been watching any of them, if you want to catch up, you can catch up on Instagram. I've got them in there under highlights, or they're all on my YouTube channel, or they're all on Facebook. Probably YouTube channel is the easiest way to jump in and do some catch up. And remember, I'm doing probably going to be about 10 or 12 modules, doing one session every few days. I missed a few. I've been catching up on one or two things with Easter and what have you, but I'm going to be doing about 10 or 12 modules, and this first module is the journey of leadership, and we've reached number 10 of these, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about starting the journey. Now, this is not a perfect science. I'm not pretending it's a perfect science by any means, but these are just some thoughts. Now, we've been traveling down this road together of him wasting nothing, the obedience of faith, and then we started to look at what time it is, and revival and reformation, metrons and mandates, and really we could jump from there straight into this, and probably by now you're used to my quadrants, so this won't come as any great surprise to you that I've got a little quadrant here. Again, you could add lots of things to it, but let's just have a look at this, because I'm looking at really just helping people with a journey of presence-centered leadership. And as we've gone through this, we've looked at revival, reformation, renaissance, geopolitical government, and what I'm hoping that you can do tonight is just to sense a little bit about where you fit. And if you start to get an idea of where you fit, you're probably going to be thinking, okay, is there a place that I can get started? So this is what this is all about. Where do you start the journey? Let's get started. The journey of leadership, it always needs a place to start, and just sometimes might need a little bit of prodding, a little bit of prompting. Remember, you've got everything you need. You've got permission. We've had a look even at the timeline. So this is just another session just to prompt you and prod you. So top left-hand corner there, if I was with you in person, I'd be saying, raise your hand. Where are the creatives? And the creatives, of course, directly connected to Renaissance, a new expression of creativity and inventiveness. Where do you guys get started? And we've already looked at the permission piece, which I think is vital. The creatives, they often need permission. They need someone that says, permission granted, do something, permission to go and create, to draw, to paint, or maybe, as I put up here, find a problem that needs a solution and pray fresh revelation into it. That's a great way of getting started on the creative journey. And we've looked at, you have what you need. We've got 4 times what many people have who are doing incredibly creative things and are solving problems on earth, but they're probably not solving them with a complete kingdom perspective. We're waiting for some real true kingdom solutions to earth's problems, and so that if there are incredible resources that are made, that those can get plowed back in. Imagine if some of the resources that some of the giants of our age are making, the richest men in the world are making, imagine if those were in kingdom hands. So if that's you, the creative, I just encourage you. You've got permission. We're looking for new expressions of creativity and inventiveness that bring glory to God. So find the problems that need a solution, pray for fresh revelation. The revivalists, and you'll know that I don't limit this by any means, but the revivalists, they may very well be the revivalists that we truly see around the world preaching the gospel, and I of course absolutely love that, no question. But there are also those who are bringing light where there is darkness, and life where where there is death. So where do you get started? Well, the well diggers. Study history. I would just encourage you, if that's what's burning in you, study history. Who's done this stuff before? Who's brought light where there is darkness and life where there is death? Study history and find a way to get started on the journey. There's so many resources out there. We live in this most amazing time in history, where we have access. We can study so much easier than those who have gone before. So just be thinking about that. Maybe there's a region of the world, maybe there's a particular expression of revival, and dig into it and be inspired. That's the way to get started on that journey. And this is great, I think, as well, for this season where we've got some limitations. And then the entrepreneurs, they're the risk takers, the ones who want to do what hasn't been done before. Now there's an overlap with the top left there, but the entrepreneurs, the businessmen and women, the ones who look for a product or a service, they want to provide something that the world needs. And what I put down there is build team. Now that team might be a team of two, but my observation is that many of the people who've done the incredible stuff, they've started in garages, and there's been a couple of friends, and they built some sort of team, that sense of working together, and that, I think, is really vital. But we live in this extraordinary moment in history, and there are such opportunities. You might have heard me talk about my observation of the west coast of California in the last 100 years. It's had so much revival history in that 100 years, traced back to Azusa and Amy Semple McPherson, the Jesus People movement, John Wimber, John G. Lake going further north, and of course Bethel, which I am a part of and have been for the last 20 or so years, connected there. We went on our first visit there in 1999. But the interesting thing for me is that same coastal area, the west coast of America, has also been the birthplace of Boeing, Microsoft, Hewlett Packard, Facebook, Tesla. Need I go on? Is there a relationship between the two? So I'm believing that this is a great moment in history for the entrepreneurs to raise up. So there are just some parallels, I think. So I want to encourage you, dig into that. And then the social reformers, I haven't put down there just the government getting involved. That's obviously something that might be in here, because I think that in many respects our governments are becoming places where we need people who are pursuing social reform, and some of them will do that through politics and through government, and we need that. So where do you start? Where do you start to bring justice to social reformers? Well, again, overlaps. It's going to involve studying history, but here's the thing I think we need to do is just engage in the battle. If you've got an area of injustice that you want to see righted because you're a righter of wrongs, if you've got that already in your heart, I just encourage you, engage in the battle. Find other people who are doing something, find organizations and start to line up with them, pray with them, get involved, find out what they're doing, give money to them, support, engage in the battle. So this is really just at the end of this journey of leadership. The end of the journey of leadership module, I'm basically saying this is how you get started on a journey of leadership in these ways. These are different types of world changers and history makers. The creative world changers and history makers, the revivalist world changers and history makers, the entrepreneurial world changers and history makers, and the social reform world changers and history makers. And let me just put a little clarification here, because I think sometimes people get intimidated by the size of this title, world changers and history makers. Well, it starts by changing your world. And it starts by changing and making your history. I love the quote of Sir Winston Churchill: "History will be kind to me, for I intend to make it." And of course he did. Well, every one of us, I believe, at this moment in time, we have an opportunity to be a world changer. Maybe it's creative, maybe it's expression, communication, arts, or maybe it's is actually finding a new invention, a new way of solving one of Earth's problems. Or maybe it's revival and being a world changer and a history maker in that area of bringing life where there is death. Of course, ultimately salvation, life, but there are other expressions of that. Or maybe it's entrepreneurial, and we really do need to raise up a generation of entrepreneurial men and women who are kingdom minded. And of course, social reform, we desperately need that. We're looking at a world in such great need of social reform in so many areas. So this is really me just encouraging you as we look at the journey of leadership. And just a quick sneak preview, the next module is the mindset of leadership, and we got 10 sessions there. We're going to have a look at some which won't be a surprise, and some that might just be a surprise to you. And I'll just give you a sneak preview of a few more of the modules. We got the mindset of leadership, and then we're going to look at leading change. Remember, these are all under the theme of presence-centered leadership. We're going to have a look at strategic leadership, the gift of government and administration, leading culture, the character of a leader, leading for the kingdom, excellent leadership, leading yourself, team leadership, long-term impact, the wisdom of leadership, and the glory of leadership. So we've got a bunch of modules there, but the next module is the mindset of leadership. So keep your eyes out for that. If you want to just go through everything that I've already done, you can jump onto my YouTube channel, or you can have a look at my other social media. And so for now, this is just me prompting you, prodding you. You can get started easier than you think. Get involved in what God is stirring in your heart. You're creative, called to bring creative revival. Are you a revivalist and looking for really going after bringing life where there is death and light where there is darkness in so many different ways? Then your assignment is to study history. If you're an entrepreneur and you're really thinking, I know there's a business inside of me, and there's something that needs to be done, a product I can provide, a service I can provide, and do it to bring change to the world and to serve the King and the kingdom. And start looking around. Are there like-minded people around? See if there's someone you can partner with. What I do know is this: we usually in that area need each other. The risk taker probably needs somebody who's going to bring some of the grounding and some of the administration, and we need each other. Or maybe you're a social reformer. I encourage you, get involved, engage in the battle. So we come to the end of this first module, the journey of leadership. I just want to bless you and get going, get started. Pray for fresh revelation, study history, find like-minded people, or engage in the battle. Presence-centered leadership is really this. It's putting the ark of the covenant, the ark of the testimony in the middle of the room, the presence. And it really is that from that place of putting the presence of God in the center of our leadership, everything else flows out from that place. And there's so much. We're going to find more and more of this as we go through. So bless you. Thanks for joining me on this this evening, or whatever time of day it is when you watch it. And look forward to seeing you as I start Module B, the mindset of leadership. Bye for now.